channel ascended masters. Could you, or were you willing to name a few of those masters that you have worked through you?
Well, my books are called The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, and I've channeled the goddess Hathor of ancient Egypt that impulsed many golden ages in Egypt, and she's the goddess of the sky, celebration, love, creativity, and so many things, the sky goddess. And then the second book is called Buddha Speaks to the Buddha Nature Within, so that's the Buddha coming through. And then the third book is Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Maha-Avatar Babaji, and that is the Shiva energy coming through of the Christ yogi, Maha-Avatar Babaji, who's here to take all 7 billion, hopefully, within free will into Christ consciousness, which is unity consciousness in this wake-up time after 26,000 years of sleep. And, of course, he was made very famous in the West through the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda.
What a beautiful book. I absolutely love that book. And that book, it's very cheap. Back when I was starting my path, that book was on sale for like $4, so it was very accessible for everyone. But I'm also a Babaji fan. A lot of people out in Center of Light Radio Land may not be familiar with Babaji, the first one that came as well as the second one. Can you give us a little information about the first Babaji, father, and how long he lived, or just anything that they might would like to know about this Mahavatar? Avatar is a person that is born with God consciousness. A Mahavatar is not born at all. They use their free God will and project themselves here onto the earth plane. Would that be correct, Rashmi?
Well, the way I see it is that an avataric energy is all that is that comes into a body, usually not born of a woman. Not born of a woman and a man. So Babaji, in his recent body, came in Hare Khan Baba, is the one I channeled. He came as an 18-year-old youth. He appeared in the cave in Hare Khan, where he's appeared many times before in other bodies through eons. And that's the modern Mount Kailash, because at one point Mount Kailash, there were earth changes and so on, and there were splits. And so the main Mount Kailash is, of course, in Lake Mansarovar in Tibet, but this other part of Mount Kailash is in Hare Khan, the foothills of the Himalayan mountains in the Nainital district, and that's where he appeared. And now he's in a different body again, but this body is more overshadowed because this particular body was a normal person, not a normal person, but a master born of a man and a woman, and then Babaji has, over time, many, many years, when he left that body, he overshadowed the energies, and it took time, So it's a phenomena that's very difficult to understand with the mind. And I never saw Babaji in the body, even though I was in India at the time. At the time, I was a jet set and doing so many things that were preparing me for the next part of the mission, which was the next wake-up call. And, because when I was a kid, I was living in Egypt, and I was playing by the sands of the pyramids, and that's when I used to talk to the goddess Hathor in the sky from my balcony in Malik. My mother said I used to talk to a cow when I was a little girl. And then of course, you forget, through the programming and the imprinting, because I spent 6 years in Egypt and then 3 in London, where I wanted to convert to, following Jesus, because I went to Sunday school. And then at 10, I went back to India. So, like that, I've been very global, and my orientation is very cosmic. And my father was the editor of the Times of Indian newspaper, so he died when he was 63 years of age, and he would have been so pleased that I became an author, and that I wrote about, metaphysics and spirituality, because his one regret was that he didn't teach his children enough about the Indian culture, because we were so international,
A lot of spiritualists I talk to, people who channel, and a lot of connected people, really connected people who are channeling their higher self. I put this question to them often, and often they give me the same answer, but I'm not going to tell you what that answer is. I'd like to see what you have to say. The question I pose is, your connection with all these divine beings, Do they give you any glimpse, any inkling whatsoever how humanity is doing on the ascension scale or in the ascension process? How does the prognosis look, basically?
Well, you know, we all know about 2012 as being a pivotal time in a sense, but it wasn't a linear event. An ascension is not a linear event. So we are, slowly beginning to reach the 100 monkey syndrome, which is the morphogenic effect. And a large part of my work now is morphogenic, where for 24 years I've held frequency of meditation of the busiest road in the world, in a sense, the Cromwell Road that takes you from Heathrow Airport into central London. And London, in a sense, is a kind of epicenter of the global village, And so that's been the mission. And so, I feel that at the moment my guardian angel is Metatron, and Babaji has become a little quieter suddenly from years and years of first talking to me and then becoming one with me, because that's very important for people to understand that that in the unified field of consciousness everything is one, which is explained in my first book, The Divine Mother Speaks, Healing of the Human Heart, that you have absolute reality in which we are all part of the oneness within the unified field of consciousness, and then we have relative reality where each of us gets to be an individual. So at the periphery we are individuals and personalities, but at the center we're all part of the same unified field of oneness.
I really love the way you expressed and explained that deep within, or in the unified field, we're all one and we all experience that, but yet down here we are able to be individuals and create what we call personal happiness.
Yes, and also now it's about heaven on earth, as you're, into heaven on earth, so am I. And some of us are living those frequencies. So we are, I'm like a bridge between 3D and other realities of other dimensions, which ultimately are all one and all playing out at the same time, because time is also a sort of construct that can be bent and, jumped and so on. So because I'm a bridge, I'm choosing, even though now I'm more and more in the avataric energy, to also be very human, and that is what the goal is this time. It has never occurred in the universe ever before in manifest reality. So all reality comes from the unmanifest into the manifest. And in this manifest reality, this is the first time that a whole, planet with all the people on it are going to ascend but still stay in the body. And that's why, as you know, we're moving from carbon to crystalline energy, and our DNA is being activated from 2 to 12 helix. And so it is heaven on earth, which means being totally avataric and human at the same time, which is not easy and has never happened before. And so we're taking the first baby steps that even beings like Babaji have not done in the same way, because even a little while ago was still the Piscean time, you see.
Yes, that time is over, and now we're moving into
That
Aquarius.
makes sense. So we are taking steps that have never been taken before. So, very often I say, give me someone that I can, say is going through what I'm going through in a sense. And of course, there's a whole load of us ascension pioneers. And as I said, that there's some thunder and lightning happening here, which is interesting. And but we're very far apart because we're holding grid points on the planet, and then I get sent to, I've worked morphogenically out of 3 continents. I live in hotels for the last 9 years, which is the urban cave. I'm an urban shaman. I have to be in the center of places like DC, London, New Delhi, and hold these frequencies. And it's about being rather than doing. Though, of course, I've written 3 books, co-produced I, God, with all the spiritual leaders of America in it, worked on many, individual shepherds like Leonard Orr, Robert Friedman, so many others in the States and across the globe. And the other day I was in Osho Lila in Dorset near Stonehenge, and we brought in very high heart. I brought in high heart frequencies for a group of 120 people from the ages of 1, though some of the kids weren't there for the, but they were in the field of the energies for 4 days. and up to 90-year-olds from all over the world. So, the mission just keeps shifting and moving, and as the polarities play out, the darkness is also getting more extreme. You know what I mean? And it's not linear, so we can't really understand it fully from our minds. It's only when we go with the flow, as the Hopis say, come to the center of the river, give up the clinging, see who's in the center, and celebrate, and go with the flow of the river. And that's exactly, this fifth dimensional frequency of being here now is, and in that frequency then you transcend karma and you come into dharma, because then people like yourself, myself, our every breath is serving the collective, which includes ourselves, obviously. Self-care, self-love is also important.
One of my teachers went to India to spend time with an avatar. One of the things he said is that human life is the pinnacle of creation, not meaning that it's favored than anything because everything is equal, but it's meant in context. Human life is the pinnacle of creation, that we must not take this life for granted, because there are souls waiting in line to come down here and do what we're doing. So that being said, how did you come to channel these master teachers? How did this all begin to happen for you?
Well, at a relatively young age, about 32, I realized that I had it all. I had homes across the globe. I had money, and it was not enough, that the so-called success was not it. And so I went to hear some lecture on the Bhagavad Gita in India, and finally I got it, the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which was, you are not the field, being the mind, body, and the intellect. You are the knower of the field. You are the detached witness of the mind, body, and the intellect. And I just had a refiring of my encodings from past lives of enlightenment and so on. And so I left the kingdom. I left all the homes. I went to zero, and my mission was to teach meditation in London, because I had just learned meditation in this lifetime in Dubai, where I wasn't expecting to, and it changed my life, and I just left everything. And since then I went on to studying Reiki, went to America, met a guru, met Guru Mai, had Shaktipat, read the Celestine Prophecy, and then as I became a Reiki teacher, I'm in psychic surgery, and then I went on to studying Yusui Mastery, and then there are many other levels of Reiki Mastery beyond Yusui, which is Karuna Reiki Mastery, then 3 types of Egyptian Reiki Mastery, then Rakuke, which is Shamanic Reiki Mastery, and then original 7-degree Reiki Mastery, and on it went. And then I studied advanced sound wave energy therapy from a scientist who was also a Reiki Master from the DC area, that was given very powerful wisdom into this sound waves, inaudible sound, called advanced sound wave energy therapy. And throughout all these initiations and in sessions, the different beings were coming through for the students, clients, shepherds that I was working on and teaching, that were forming healing centers across the globe. And so sometimes I didn't even know the names of the being, like there was a Buddhist with me, and I would see Jesus there, for example. It wasn't logical, and they would go, oh, well, I'm a Buddhist, but I really believe in Jesus, or he's my guide. And so that's how it started happening in the beginning.
How can wisdom teachings, made simple through your books, help humanity in a practical day-to-day sense?
How can the wisdom teachings in my books help people in a practical sense?
Yes.
Basically, one of my gifts is that I can heal through the word, and I heal through radio shows. So the radio shows are always a transmission of energy, and if people are happy to get their minds out of the way, then they can receive heart energy or opening of wisdom energy, etc. And so the books also carry the energy behind the words. They're extremely simple. They're quite short books, and yet they're very intense, and they're like handbooks. You can connect to your heart and open a page, and you get some wisdom. The second 2 books, like with the Buddha and Babaji, Lord Shiva, I ask question answers to do with the current time, how to bring the wisdom of Shiva and the Buddha for our daily lives, in 3D reality as well, and about the wake-up time. So the first book, The Divine Mother Speaks, Healing of the Human Heart, is Energy Mastery Made Simple. I could have created a new system of Reiki Mastery after the second, which is the Power of Power Egyptian system, because I channeled Hathor, but I just didn't like the political part of Reiki and some of the problems, with the teachers and copywriting and all that. So I decided to channel a book and let it go to everybody, and so that's what happened. And again, with the Buddha Speaks, I'm asking Buddha very, very, simple questions that everybody would ask about how to bridge mundane reality with our spiritual lives.
Yes, that was going to be the next question I was going to ask you, is how do we bridge the spiritual with the mundane, and how do we cross over into the spiritual realm from just a life of mundane quality?
Well, all three books cover that very strongly and are very simple. And as I said, they're transmissions and all the radio shows as well, and the film, I, God, which asks 5 very deep questions about why are we here, is there heaven and hell, do you believe in right and wrong? And we have the specialists like Deepak Chopra, Mariam Williamson, myself, James Van Prague, people off the street being asked these questions, heads of different religious denominations. And so it can help, things like terrorism and all to begin to abate, because really the war in everybody, I don't know if you agree, Keith, is between everybody's mind and their hearts. The mind is into divide, rule, fight, flight, manipulation, control, competition, and that's the 26,000-year cycle of patriarchal energy, which is not a gender thing as such. It's more an energy of, as I said, fight, flight, etc. Whereas now we're coming into the divine feminine energies, which is also about being, allowing, being whole, using both hemispheres of the brain, the right and the left, and being more intuitive, and cooperation, heaven on earth, win-win, share, honoring each other, respecting each other, and freely sharing with each other, because when we say Namaste, the God, Goddess in me bows to the God, Goddess within you. And the Western mind and the Eastern mind, the education has made a lot of people Western as well in their orientation, is, always separate. So like all the beings that I channel and I are one. I'm not separate from the archangels or the ascended masters, and ultimately we're not even separate from the darkness, if you know what I mean.
Correct.
We're not separate from, and the darkness is not just outside of ourselves. We have to begin with looking
Right.
at darkness within ourselves instead of always projecting it onto Donald Trump, etc., etc.
Right.
And Hitler and so on. So we get very upset in the West when terrorism happens. It's happened twice in London recently. I could feel the energies before it happened. I couldn't tell exactly what's going to happen because we can't interfere with the bigger plans and so on. But I could feel it. And then we were sending morphogenic energy and all, and then I was feeling really sad. But the truth is, America, England, my country here, I've got a British passport. I'm ultimately universal and cosmic. I don't have a country. But I'm British, and we are sending our troops for years and years to the Middle East. We've murdered so many Syrian children, so many Iraqi children, etc., etc. And so then, there's a double standard with all of this. And so who is the terrorist, becomes a question. And we call ourselves democracy.
That's a big question. Who's the terrorist becomes a very, very honest question.
So I don't want to make it a political show, but I do feel the hypocrisy of humanity, and that saddens me deeply, And of course, many of us are working. I sold everything I had to do the mission, and it's not, people say, oh, but do you like living in hotels? And, do you like spending that much money on a hotel room? Whatever the mission takes is what we do. And if it takes us on to sleeping on a floor, that's where we go. If it takes us into some remote place, that's where we go. But right now, some of us have chosen to not be in the remote places anymore. That's Piscean stuff where we were in our caves and we renounced everything. Now it's for every individual to begin to wake up. And so we have to be in the urban areas, many of us, and that's not easy,
Rashmi, we're at the bottom of the hour. Could you give up your contact information so the Center of Light Radio listening audience could find more about you, your books, and all the work that you're doing? What is your contact there?
You want my website?
Absolutely. However, our audience can find you.
It's rashmikilnani.com. I'm sure you put it in the link.
I did.
That's RASHMIKHILNANI.com. IGotTheFilm.com. 2013andbeyond.org is one of my radio shows that I host. And then there's Reiki-Energy-Mastery.com. But on RashmiKilnani.com, most of the, and the film you can get on iTunes, you can get it on Amazon. The books are all on Amazon, Nook, Kindle, Barnes & Noble. And also you can get the film on Neil Donald Walsh's website, because he's co-producer with me together with Robert Friedman, who's also our publisher.
From the chat room, Dee Dee asked a question. It seems technology is becoming more valued than humanity lately. How do we learn to value people more than the things we make?
Well, again, that's covered in all the books and the film to take you deeper and get you off the gizmos. So I would say shut off the gizmos from time to time, get into nature, connect with the children, connect with what we used to love doing when we were children, such as painting, dancing, singing, whatever that is, playing. And make time to connect to humans as well through dance or song or, sharing groups and so on. I spend a lot of time myself on Facebook because technology has a very positive part too. We can get to so many people. Right now we're doing something together here with the radio shows because of technology. But just to do it this way and not have the balance, that's a really good question. And now we're at the brink of transhumanism, as we all know. And, we don't want to go that way totally in the negative part of that, where we won't know the difference between a robot and a human. And already that's happening, because the youngsters are meeting for dinner and they're all texting each other around the same dinner table.
I'm sitting here looking at some notes, and I had a question for you, which is, do you really feel that all paths are ultimately one and that we can achieve unity as humanity? Well, last night, I was given a ticket to an event here in Memphis called Memphis Interfaith, and I was blown away. Now, it really touched me. I was witnessing Muslim speakers talking about the Bible. I was experiencing Christian pastors talk about the Quran. And there was this glorious, and there were Hindus there as well, and everybody was reading from others' scriptural books. And it really, I cried. It opened me up. It helped me to congeal the fact, the possibility, the reality that heaven on earth and unity among humanity is going to happen. I could feel the power in that room. There was mayors from Memphis there, all these officials there. It's like what I experienced last night was everybody's now starting to plug in. It's the new trend to want unity. And it just really blew me away to see Christians speaking from the Quran, reciting it, and Muslims reciting the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was just a very, very beautiful experience for me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's the same in iGod, where it wasn't like some Muslim imam said, oh, I'm not going to do the film just because there's a Christian voice and a Buddhist voice, and vice versa. Everybody knew that all kinds of voices and every voice, as best as we could, is going to be covered in a film that was, I sold the roof over my head to be the angel seed investor of iGod. And it was funny because all the New York best-selling authors in the film. And, of course, they put their time and energy for free into the film. And I hope it gets out there because, it can take you very deep into one's own levels of peace and understanding and tolerance for other parts and other ways. And I'm so grateful for my, childhood when I was able to see the depths of so many different ways But being an old soul, I already kind of knew that, which is why I chose Reiki, even though various teachers said, oh, we want you to be a teacher of this religion, that religion. I was waiting for something non-denominational. And so Reiki provided that, and it's become one of the largest movements on the planet for the angelics to bring the wake-up cycle for humanity here now, because so many millions have received Reiki, and there are thousands of Reiki masters, and then there's a few REMs like myself, but there are many practitioners and many people that have studied it and been healed through that energy of universal life force energy, because it's non-denominational, covers the wisdom teachings of all time.
Yeah, completely. It's non-denominational. Let me ask you this. What is Egypt's role of esoteric wisdom in our time today? What is the role of Egypt in its wisdom for today's world?
Well, it's funny because in a lot of the radio shows I say I was born in ancient Egypt, and of course I mean conceived in current Egypt. And so, that's where I'm going into all the different time-space continuums at the same time. But the Great Parent of Giza and all of that is very important energies, because, again, we are seeding a golden age, 2012 and beyond. We're moving into this new paradigm, and the heaven on earth paradigm is going to be a golden age like never seen before. And it's happening as we speak. But it happens. You see, if I'm in that frequency, then all around me it could be a different frequency for others, because each one gets to choose, and they all have their own timing. Does that make sense? So in that sense, the frequencies of the Great Parent of Giza, of the energies, that's why I channeled the book, The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, which is Egyptian mystery school made simple, But it kind of coincides with other mystery schools as well. So I don't know if that begins to answer that question, but underneath the Sphinx is a hall of records, and when some of that information comes through humanity, it's really going to change everything,
Yeah, I love everything you're talking about, the prophecy of heaven and earth. No, let's change that. The reality of heaven and earth. And some people, I would say I am living heaven on earth. I am in that place. There are many people who are, but I think we're talking about the collective as a world, everyone sharing, no one having more than the other, this kind of biblical picturesque idea. And I love the fact that you really, really are very well anchored and diverse with all types of scripture that reflect this unity among humanity. And so here's the gig. Personally, in my intuition, with the divine masters that I was able to physically and spiritually and connect with, Sai Baba, Swamiji Visvayogi, and other experiences I have in Sleepscape, I know for a fact.
Sai Baba was something else.
What's that? Say it again.
I said Sai Baba was just incredible, incredible cosmic energy. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. And I know bones to bones, heaven and earth is going to happen. Now, when and to what degree it's going to happen in my lifetime, I know I have without a doubt a knowing why I'm on this earth, and it's doing what I'm doing right now. Not only with this radio show, like you, writing books, talking, spreading the word, spreading the light. I know that for a fact, but just to give you a quick story, because I've said this many times on this show, and those who are regulars know the story. But Rashmi, some years ago, when I was really hungry for Sai Baba or a spiritual awakening, he began to come to me in sleep. And one night, he brought me to a state of consciousness. He's standing across the river. Telepathically, he says, Keith, I want you to come to India. And I said, how will I do that? I've never done such a thing. I don't have the money. He says, Keith, you need to put all this down. I'll take care of the details. So I wake up in the morning excited, but I go back into human logic. How will I do this? And I said, I'm going to let this go. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a lady I've never met. Hi, Keith. My name is Debbie. We have a mutual friend. Word got to me. You want to go to India to see a holy man? I said, yes. She said, Keith, I'm a flight attendant. I got some companion passes for the year that are about to expire. Can I give you a first-class round-trip ticket? 3 months later, I'm in Sai Baba's ashram for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Isn't that
I had
amazing?
a similar story about meeting Satya Sai Baba as well. And it was the same with like Babaji. He said, you'll go to America, and I just recovered from, I went through a cancer journey, and to show transmutation, and by taking on the allopathic route and bringing Reiki into the Royal Marsden Hospital, I'd been recovered from all of that, being cut up and chemo and radio and all this stuff. But she said, you're going to America to do the mission. You're going to help in the wake up of some of the spiritual leaders of America. You're going to make this film. You're going to write these 3 books. I was like, no, I'm not. But it all happened, It all happened. And so I didn't know how it was going to happen, but one after the other, just through giving up the temple, then the book got channeled in 21 days. And I don't write my books, I speak them out in 21 sessions.
Wow.
In 21 sessions, and they're not big books, but most people, you don't read them cover to cover. Did you get a chance to dip into any of the books yet? I know you suddenly got the 3 books. It's a lot, but they are intense with very simple books, and it was the same with the other 2. And then at one point, Bob Friedman, my publisher, said, every time you go to London, you come back with another book, and I'm just going to publish them because I know you're really good at this now. Which master are you channeling next? But channeling the books is easy, but it's that then you got to do all the radio shows and that's all part of the mission, because some of us are meant to speak. But I just want to say that this heaven on earth thing is going to happen from each person choosing it one at a time, and we can't force anybody.
Right.
You live it, I live it. I live it by asking everyone I meet how I can help them, sending good energy, sending blessings for everybody, doing morphogenic work and all the rest of the stuff that we've just said, but also enjoying and painting, singing, dancing, whatever it is. And like that, as more and more of us do that, the frequency starts shifting.
Yes.
So as they say, instead of bashing what we don't like, instead of going on about Trump and this one, that one, and the other one, why not just in our own area, under what's going on under our own noses, make those changes? Learn to love and share and celebrate together, or at least on one's own even, one can do it. I'm a bit of a yogi. You don't always meet people right in your vicinity that you can do stuff with, but, you can still do it through the internet and on your own, go to the park, be with the peacocks, whatever it takes.
I love the idea that you said you don't write your books, that you speak them. For the last 2 months, I've been doing these bursts of light live feeds on Facebook. I'll find a topic. What inspired all this was me looking at the feed and finding how many people had anxiety. So I decided to do a burst of light live feed on anxiety. And then I really had a good time. So I created one on meditation, explaining the idea and the importance of meditation. The third was on explosive clarity. And all these different subjects. And a week and a half ago, I went, oh, my God, I have a book. And so I decided to hire someone, my marketing manager, and she's transcribing all these bursts of light live vids into documents, and I'm turning them into a book. And this is an alignment here, Rashmi, is because I was looking for working titles, potential titles. And then when I sat down to start watching God, I come up with the idea to call this book. Tap into the tap into the internet.
Wow.
Book's called Soul Provider. iBook.
Wow,
tap into the
fantastic.
internet. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And so the alignment with you was appreciated.
Fantastic. So that's it. You see, as we share and so on, and I mean, a lot of the work you do and I do, I've been a kind of philanthropist now for 9 years, and I've charged for a few things like modalities and all, but generally, I'm not linear at all in any ways. It's not like I make money on what I do. I actually spend money on all of it, but you go into this frequency then where you're not in linear frequency, and then abundance comes to you. Whatever you need comes to you in the moment, and it's not even need. It just sort of, life becomes a lot more organic and simple.
Yes.
And yes, it does take a lot of trust, and it takes constant courage, and there's always another layer of that comes up. And you get tested, and you get challenged. But then you get to just, live the life that gives you joy, because your life is productive, it's creative, and it's helping other people breathe more easily. It's bringing more light into the world as opposed to just, chasing money for money's sake, or fame or name for the sake of that. Because a lot of what we do is silently, quietly as well, like the morphogenic work, even on this weekend, the 4 days, I didn't get paid to do what I did, but, there's just so much joy in creating that kind of vortex of energy, and then eventually money will come, and now maybe I'm going to move into a cycle where I'll be charging more, because also, when you charge people, somehow they seem to get it better than when they get it for free. But also, that's the cycle I'll be in now, because I'm going to, I'm guided in that direction, and my money may run out soon. But I don't feel it will run out, because when you give your all to the universe gives you its all as well.
Like you, I'm not really a money person per se. It's a very helpful tool to move through this world and to create a life of happiness and to have sustenance and food and shelter.
It's important to be grounded.
Yes. And like you, when we do this kind of work, we need to earn a living so we can move about the world and spread this message. I get that. But when someone is truly in a bad way, I will step up, and it's not about money. People say, well, Keith, why don't you just charge some money? I said, because the money, the wealth and the abundance I have does not come from clients. It does not come from the outside world. I'm living in a place right now in my life where I used to call people and say, I have an empty spot on my calendar. Would you like to fill it so I can come play music? And of course they would say yes or no, I can't. I don't have any openings. That's all taken away from me. I don't do that anymore. My phone does not stop ringing. In fact, my phone doesn't even ring anymore. I just look at my calendar, and it's booked solid.
Yeah.
Because of the work I'm doing, and not because of the work.
Whatever our work is, it happens, and people think, oh, well, I make a lot of money on my books and this, that, but I don't. But I am like a spiritual princess. Somehow I live in Kensington for 24 years, even though I left my rich husband, and I don't have anybody paying my bills. And, I pay for everything. I paid for the film. I paid for the, I pay people for them to be healed very often, Don't ask me, whatever it takes. But somehow, the flow happens, and people say, oh, you're like, even in the States, they don't know Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, and they say, Rashmi doesn't sound the same as Lakshmi, and they call me Lakshmi, because it's like they're like, you're a queen of abundance, And I'll give people jewelry, for example, and then I go, oh, I don't have another one of those. And then I look in my jewelry box, and another one pops up, Things just keep popping up. It's like the guy when Babaji or somebody, they had all these disciples came, and there was only so much soup. And he said, don't worry, and the soup just kept coming out of the pot, and everybody got fed. Because when we're all sharing, then that's heaven on earth. And all this lack nonsense, this lack nonsense, like Saint Germain, he was abundant, and being abundant doesn't mean, it's not the slum of heaven, it's the kingdom of heaven. It's not about just being completely polite, but it is about being simple. Because if we're simple, then we don't cling to stuff. We can enjoy stuff, but if it goes, we let it go. So there's loads of people that are spiritual, but they go, oh, but they sing like crazy to the property, or if I had Globe Energy Master, wouldn't have happened. And then my wisdom teachings of all those, let go of the temple. If I had to them and work with him, then I wouldn't have gone to the study. And he wouldn't have discovered the energies. All one thing leads to another. If you just do something
you know, and I will tell I'm a professional musician. And I've been doing very well and live good in doing it. My point is, I'm I'm a way to do good work. Exactly what I'm supposed to do when I play music. I truly
Have
don't
a lovely
think
energy.
I truly don't think that's the reason I'm able to do exactly what I love. I think the reason I'm able to continue music, which is what I love, is because I'm a catalyst, as you, as many people are, to bring in the heavens so we can begin to manifest that on earth us, and by example, as you said a bit ago, one, people internal switch would flip.
That's right. And at the same time, we get to be imperfect. We get to be human.
Yes.
You know, like I'm not perfect. You know, this this 4 days, my drum, I I became a clown. Many people came and said, "You're the fool part in the tarot." Some people, oh, you know, you have all this power and we thought charlatans, but actually you're just so weird because you know I wasn't doing my usual God thing. It was like I was a divine child. It was not perfect. My hair was sharp. You know, I wasn't, you know, there was no
Yeah.